What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another technical analysis. And in this video, what I like to do is point out some entries and exits from some particular stocks that I am looking at for this week. If that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing, as I do also provide a weekly analysis where I go over upcoming earnings and upcoming events. And I'm also can be found on X at Hemi137, where I provide a daily pulse on the market. So before we get started, remember to drop a like and let's dive right into some technicals. Now, ever since this point, what we've been waiting for essentially for the past couple months, as you can see the chop that's essentially been occurring as we were waiting for elections. That was big into how the market would play out. Ultimately, as of right now, we were aware that Trump had policies, and then we weren't so aware of what Harris's policies were, other than what we currently have for the current administration, which the market didn't really like, and that was pretty obvious over the past couple months. But nonetheless, given a lot of deregulation and potentially tax cuts, the market liked that, and so the market's been rallying since Tuesday. The question is, we are essentially in price discovery mode. We'll see how much higher we can go. I do believe the back half of the year, unless a major event occurs between now and January, I think the market will rally to the back half of the year. There's normally low volume during this time of year anyway, so we'll see how that goes. But with that being said, ultimately, uh, January, I do believe there will be some sort of potential fallout. I've talked about this multiple times on my other videos, so I would check that out. But if there is a fallout, the market could correct, because you can't continue to spend wildly to hold up and prop up the market for a talking point. So with that being said, as of right now, you're in price discovery, so you have to go by essentially some of these psychological numbers. The 6K mark, I'm expecting it to actually get rejected and potentially retest this 58 potentially this week. We'll see what goes on. We don't have any big events. We have some data and some Fed talking. Nothing on the current schedule would, I think, scare the market at this point. The market, like I said, likes a lot of the different policies that the upcoming administration is talking about. So that's why you're getting a major rally, especially in crypto, because there's been some really positive news of the past couple of days, with potentially onboarding Charles Hopkinson for some crypto talk. So crypto has been exploding over the weekend. So we'll continue to watch that. I might actually start doing some just crypto charts themselves. So maybe doing some of that just to kind of look into that as well. I do look at that as well, just not on here. So that being said, again, you are in a channel here. So one thing to keep in mind is I do believe the back half of the year we could continue to rally. I think we may retest and then sharply pull up. Again, there's a lot of positive sentiments, but I do believe there'll be more of a fallout. So just keep that in mind when it comes to the transition. Again, I'll check out my other video to give more detailed explanation of that. But ultimately, I do believe we need to come back and retest this level, this 58 level. Again, there's a lot of levels that are really close to each other, because over the past couple months, like I've stated, it's really just been uncertainty. And so this is why the market has really just been chopped. And ever since Trump, obviously, things have been exploding. A lot of these moves are heavy manipulation. We've talked about this multiple times. But as you can see, again, essentially our pivot point was when we paused. Again, this was way back when this is when this is 2022. This is our bottom right here that we're kind of really dealing with. I've talked about this multiple times. This one candle was about 100 points in a day. It was ridiculous how this how this candle essentially was the pivot candle. The market was highly paranoid as we were raising rates because of inflation, and then finally got control of inflation. And then we started pushing back up, and then market obviously started selling off again, and that's when they had a pause. That was their pause right here, and then we've been going up ever since. Again, market has ups and downs. It can't continue to just rapidly go up and needs some sort of correction. So We'll see how this does play out. One big issue I have noticed, or there's talks of that I didn't notice in my last video, was China's stimulus is not working. Is the massive printing of money not stimulating, which is concerning for them, and they have no essentially way to address that. So that is something else to keep on your bingo card as something that could play out. So just be mindful of that. What does that exactly mean? We're not exactly sure as of right now, but that could be really bad because the market's already in a very deflationary state. So, but again, they've been on lockdown a year longer than we have. So they have a lot of issues just in general. But let's see here. I was trying to mark out some additional levels here on how we could play out moving forward. Again, with the SPX, you have to understand it's typically pretty choppy. It just normally grinds up. This is pretty normal for the market to do a lot of grinding. But these massive drops, like I said, this is recessionary for tech. That's what that was there because the uncertainty. And then NVIDIA essentially took hold and carried the market. The Mag 7 essentially took hold at this point and have pushed the market up ever since, only to find out that there's been some security fraud going on. So pencil whipping of numbers from SMCI. And then now you have Meta and NVIDIA asking for immunity on security fraud. So that could be highly concerning. Again, if there's a lot of bad news that's piled on each other, this can start turning over, which I am expecting in the beginning of the new year. A lot of things are going to be playing out. You'll have your essentially debt ceiling put back into place. And now there's been no debt ceiling over the past year, so they're just wildly spending, and this is why you're spending $1 trillion over 90 days. So that's something to keep in mind. But as of right now, just looking for the retest this week, but we'll see how that plays out. And then again, it's got some pretty solid support just within these, even down to the 5,700. And then we'll see where we go from there. But this may just because of the election. I don't know how much further we can continue to run up. Like I said, I'm expecting some sort of bad news. We've had it was good to see some potential change coming, but again, ultimately, things have to play out. It can't just be lip service at this point. So that's SPX. Bitcoin, like I've stated, Bitcoin's been skyrocketing over the weekend. Expecting this to be up higher, almost 80K. We'll see where it ends by Sunday evening, but right now, kind of looking for at least a retest to 72. Again, when you break out of these levels that you've been sitting at for such a long time, you want at least a retest of that, and that will solidify a strong bull run. And then again, you want structure. You just don't want this thing to shoot straight up. So if it shoots straight up, that means after a couple of days, it will just come down like a ton of bricks. So so currently watching that. We'll see. This could be some support here. There was a slight channel here, so we'll see if this let's see if we can pull up a channel and see how well. I mean, the market in general, it kind of looks like this. So it looks like you're breaking above this upper channel and trying to push up as well. So much like the SPX is in an upward channel as well. Again, I think normalization of everything will start occurring in the new year, as a lot of stuff has to be, so controls have to be put in place, even though there might be some good potential policy being stipulated next year. You have to understand that even with that being said, it still takes time. It's just not a let's sign it in and then it just takes over. We've talked about the rates and how long the lag effect is. And we're expecting the same thing when it comes to policy and everything else. So that's what it's looking at like on Bitcoin, expecting this thing to keep pumping up, at least for a little bit. We don't know how high we get. A lot of people are saying, don't believe the ridiculous 150K mark. I don't think that's as of right now, maybe towards the back half of next year. But again, we have to price in a recession. That is something that I still don't believe has been completed, even though we've had some rolling recessions. Bonds have been an absolute mess, as you can see. It looks like we are retesting. We keep trying to retest this 93 mark after we broke the trend. We'll see if we can reestablish the 93 mark. If not, that it could roll over and start selling off. That can be concerning. Again, a lot of these patterns aren't as effective as they were just even a couple of years ago because the manipulation that's going on. This is why I use supply and demand is a lot better, because it kind of keeps your scope a lot tighter as to where you're actually going to land. And again, it hasn't failed me despite many of these other techniques that I've seen out there. This is probably the best out there that I've ever seen. But yeah, so as of right now, we'll watch and we'll see if this does hold here, if this just is going to consolidate around here. Again, your bottom is roughly this 86 is what we've had, or 82 here back in October of last year. And so yeah, it's been pretty choppy. So it looks like it's trying to save itself on this higher time frame on the weekly. So if we can see if it can establish itself back to over 94, which could technically be a higher low, as long as it holds. So we'll see if that it does establish that for bonds over this next coming week. So, and then Tesla, a massive rip because of Elon. I think this stock was really suppressed because of Elon's involvement with the current election. I think has really held it down, but now we're getting a breakout. So we'll see how well this does. I think this can really start rocketing. We'll look to see if it will at least do a retest of the 265 here one last time, and then do a rocket out of here moving forward. So looking forward to that. This is one I've been talking about since 175. So it's been consolidating a lot. Anytime it really dips, like I said, this will, I think, will be the leading stock in a lot of fronts because of the future. I don't think any other company out there is even close to what Tesla has as far as FSD and humanoids that can bring massive market cap to the company. I think no other company has that or even comes close to that. So I think they're very innovative. They continue to reduce price on their products. Again, there's so much here. So look to see, like I said, again, if they could retest as of right now on these monthly charts. Again, you're kind of really hitting the top here at the 313. But expecting it to try to, like I said, try to come down to the 265 for one last retest, and then potentially go for that 478, 400. So it could be a strong possibility. So we'll see what happens there. Palantir, again, just nothing but up. This is crazy to see how this is developing. It's already hitting 60. It's in, again, price discovery mode. So again, you have to go off of psychological numbers, the 60, the 70. And then go from there. The fact is just skyrocketing like this. I don't know if I really like that. Like I've stated, I don't like stocks that just go parabolic, because I believe there's a lot of manipulation that happens there. I think this has become a safe haven for a lot of companies, but people buying at the top is concerning, because again, you've seen other stocks like ELF and Celsius where people are buying the tops up here, and then it corrects 50%, and then people are screaming bloody murder. So would like this to come down to 43. I think it will correct at some point, and maybe we may get it around 30 when we do have a correction. Seeing anything lower than that, I think October of 22 was probably your best buy on all tech. But again, if you knew better by then, been calling this one out, I think, since like 7 before this first major move to 750, and that's been the last move essentially since up. So there are a couple of times bought in here as well. But yeah, so monster stock again. I think it's getting to a point there to where I'm not sure if it's really able to justify a large market cap like it's demanding right now. Again, the contracts are great, but we have to continue to see if that's something that's going to continue, especially with just parabolic run. Like, it needs to correct before even thinking about getting into this, in my opinion. I think buying up here is a big mistake. So just, again, not financial advice, but I'd definitely be careful. You don't want an Eli Lilly to happen here. Even though it's a great company, you still want it to correct. You don't want just a straight up parabolic move. So again, I think it's become a safe haven at this point. And then Amazon, I think, could be another great company, but you have to let this correct again, since we've paused. It's been gone nothing but parabolic. I think it'll correct at some point, maybe down to the 126. Again, we don't know what kind of news is coming, but we know there's a lot of skewed bad data that could potentially offload that could correct this thing pretty good. So at least potentially even 75%. I don't think we'll see the bottom. I think you got to have a lot of really bad news for something like that to correct, which I think they can offload quite a bit, but I don't know how much devastation that's going to cause in the actual market as we watch China stocks being demolished and their stimulation is not helping. So, but right now it's in price discovery mode. So again, you go psychological numbers at this point. Again, you don't want to be buying up on top. You want a bigger correction before this occurs. Like even this wick, if you would have bought that wick that went down 152, that would have been your chance to at least get some sort of a multi-day swing trade there. But again, you don't want to be buying up here. You want this thing to correct back down first. So, and SoFi, I talked about this one so many times around all these levels here, but now it's finally starting to break out. Looks like our next big potential play here is at this $15 mark. We got two levels that are pretty close here, at least on they look on the higher time frame. I can knock this back down so it's not as. So I think right now we got a pretty clear shot up here to the $15 mark, and then from that point again, when the market starts correcting, especially with finance, I think you've got to be really careful because I think it can correct quite a bit. So you got to be careful with that. But right now it's pretty much full pedal to the metal at this point. So again, that's what my next price target is 15 for that. Looking to hopefully get a retest to the 12 here. But again, at this point, there's just been a lot of more positive sentiment to the market. So because of the potential policies that are there, again, we have to make sure that that actually happens. But we'll see what happens there. Then ELF, still, it's starting to break out. Hopefully you bought around here. I've been talking about this since it's been down here consolidating. ELF might start breaking out. Your next level here is the 137. And then if it breaks that, kind of looking roughly around that 158 mark. So I really like ELF. And then, like I said, with Palantir, like it corrected because it started losing the year-over-year growth. It got slashed in half almost because they are purchasing a lot. And ELF is a really, really good company because right now, with everything going on, they are just trying to gobble up as much market share as they can. And so when the market actually recovers, they will do extremely well. So hopefully you've been buying some around here. The market corrects. I think it will still hover around this area. I'm not expecting it to go lower. It's not saying it can't go lower, but I think it's taken such a hit already that we're in that window of buying, and much like Celsius as well is at that same level. And as long as it continues to consolidate around the $29 here mark, and has had some brief bump ups to the 38. I think as long as you're building out this position, I think can do very well as well. So these two, again, are still probably one of my top buys as of right now because everything else is starting to push up. So, and then Portillo's is one of the restaurant businesses I really like going forward. I think this one could potentially is a good longer term play. Again, I think this can correct. Restaurants are very volatile, so just keep that in mind. But again, the structure is pretty solid and can do some pretty incredible things. And they're looking to expand, especially in a market that's been kind of hurting as of right now. So that's a positive sign. This may have been the bottom here, under the $10 mark here, around the $8 mark. So we'll watch and see if we can hold this level at the 12.25. Kind of playing that range slightly around the $14 mark. So I want to keep that one on par as well. I like Hims, but it's again overextended. I want to bring up a bunch of overextended ones because there's no point looking at them until they start correcting. So when they start correcting, then we can bring them up. And then BA is the one, like I said, it has this huge wedge. I don't like the company. I don't like the model. It's pretty much been propped up by the government. But again, if you're going purely off of technicals, Boeing is still looks like it's a descending wedge. So this thing should potentially break out to the 225. We'll see how well that works out. Again, these technical patterns haven't been as solid as they used to be a couple of years ago because of the manipulation. Once the manipulation wears off, which will probably take another couple months, then from that point, then we should start getting better technicals again, and then without the manipulation. So we'll see what happens here. But Boeing, technical wise, looks pretty decent. But the company, I've never been a fan of the company, so I just don't mess with it. This is one I've been looking at, is POW as well. Again, it's ammo. They have like a laser tracer within the bullet. This one obviously has gone up over the past couple of years, but this one trades in and out of, but it's kind of hitting that bottom as of right now. Again, this is not financial advice. Again, this is a penny stock, so I don't like to recommend too many penny stocks, but this is one I have been watching on and off throughout the years. So maybe a chance to buy here at the 110 mark. So kind of watching this one as well for potential entry. Again, longer term swing, but it may be one just to put a little bit of cash in. Again, there's a high risk on this one. There's no saying it could go all the way up to 10, but I think could potentially play out. I think at least you could aim for maybe that $4 mark. So maybe sneaking into this week as well. And then JPM, as normal, this thing has been bottle rocketing out of essentially because of the news, looking for a retest, price discovery mode. So looking to see if it filled the gap back here at the 225, and then potentially start pushing back up, at least until we get new news. As of right now, there's no new news or new bad news. The good news is there's a president that's been selected, and that ultimately gives the market clarity, and that's what the market wants, is clarity. Once the market has clarity, it will start moving at that point. So for the longest time, we haven't had clarity. As you can see, there's been so much chop over the past 2 months just going into elections. So now that we have clarity, the market can move off of that. So we'll see what happens here. Again, you have to go off of, it's only been typically moves about 5 points off of weekly if there's no big scheduled events. So just keep that in mind. I think we are slightly above average by minimal, nowhere compared to what it was last week. But I think we're sitting at 85 points on the SPX, and I think JP Morgan is back down to normal. I think it's just 1 point above, so you may get a 5-point move this week, just depending what news drops. So maybe we do a retest this week. A lot of these things went parabolic last week because of the clarity. We'll see what happens moving forward, but with that being said, that is pretty much what we got today. Again, there's some still good buys out there. A lot of them I don't want to go over because they are too overextended to be buying at this point. Even Tesla, I shouldn't bring that one up, but I think it's the #1 stock on my pick list moving forward, especially because of the current president-elect that is coming in office. Can be a very positive sign for Tesla. Especially if you're talking about reducing restrictions, I think can do a lot, especially for Tesla and where it wants to go and what it can provide. So with all that being said, again, remember to drop a like, and I will see you on the next one.